We are back here at the ASUG News Studio, and this is our last interview of the day, and we are very lucky to have George Matthew with us. He is the General Manager and Group Vice President for Business Intelligence with SAP Labs. George, thanks for coming by. We appreciate it.
Thomas, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And you are one of the first SAP people we've had, so we'll be easy on you, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Be gentle or not, it's all good.
Well, first, SAP Labs.
Yes.
Maybe tell the viewers a little bit about that, what you guys do.
Yeah, so SAP Labs is primarily the development activities within SAP that's largely composed of multiple labs that are deployed throughout the world. Mm-hmm. And so we have facilities in all portions of the world, including Vancouver, Waldorf, Paris, Palo Alto, Shanghai, as well as Bangalore. And so the labs locations are really where the primary software development of SAP occurs that gets introduced and pushed into market. It's the subsequent go-to-markets that we have within the overall SAP ecosystem.
Okay. So what do you do there? What's your focus?
So my responsibility is for business intelligence. Mm-hmm. So I run the solution management team for business intelligence. So a lot of where I focus my attention is on how we set the priority and direction for what is the vision for business intelligence and analytics inside of SAP, and work very closely with two primary organizations, the field and the sales organization, in terms of just helping them understand the priorities and how we're delivering solutions into market, as well as the development organization to really evolve the priorities and make sure that we're delivering the solutions that we've committed to our customers.
You mentioned the vision. That's an interesting topic. Can you tell us what that vision is?
Yeah, so we're seeing business analytics and particularly business intelligence evolve quite dramatically these past few years. Certainly the vision around business intelligence is becoming much, much more about how mobile capabilities are available so that more and more analytics is directly in the hands of an end user, how you're more socially aware of information, and you can combine data from all forms of enterprise as well as third-party and industry and internet information in a social fashion to a broader set of users. We see that big data continues to be a pervasive topic inside of business intelligence, so that you can take the forms of information that are largely increasing over the enterprise. So every day, every enterprise is creating more and more information that they need to consume and analyze, and thus the propensity and the ability to really consume big data in a very reasonable and analytic form is where business intelligence continues to direct itself. So these are kind of the big themes, certainly mobile, social, and big data. That tends to be the things that we care about and the things that we think about in delivering a vision for business analytics and business intelligence into our markets.
Sure. One thing I want to ask you about, too, was working with customers.
Yes.
Obviously, you've got great developers, and you guys can lay out the vision. How much does the customer input come into what you guys do?
Well, it's interesting that you asked the question, because we literally had a customer council session yesterday. So a number of the solution management team as well as the product owners came in about a day early from the usual festivities at Sapphire. And we spent an entire day with our customers, about 35-40 of them, in a BI, business intelligence, information management, enterprise information management, and data warehousing customer council. And it was driven by ASUG, and ASUG was the primary champion of making sure that we, as SAP, had an opportunity to really work very intimately with customers to help understand their needs from an analytics standpoint and be able to deliver that back into how we produce the product, and made sure that that closed loop is effectively in place to hear customers and their needs and their desires of how they see the intelligence capabilities of the market evolve, and make sure that the product reflects that in how we deliver our solutions.
That's great. Good to hear. Thank you for the ASUG plug. We appreciate that.
We just did that yesterday.
One of the things, too, we were talking about before up here was the transition, and as the vision laid out by SAP on-premise to on-demand to on-device. How does that play into what you're doing? What are you hearing from customers who are trying to make that?
Yeah. So we talked a lot about on-premise, on-device, on-demand with orchestration, and that was some of the primary messages that you came out of even Sapphire last year. So for us inside of the business intelligence team, we see that as a continuum. We see the ability to compose analytic information, author it, say, for instance, on-premise, make sure that the consumption and the exposure of that information can be delivered on demand, and having users anywhere they are to be able to connect in a mobile on-device fashion to wherever the data and the analytics effectively exist.
Right.
So that continuum is something that we've continued to evolve and work through with our customers. One interesting proof point on that is now we've introduced what's known as enterprise agents that deliver a hybrid offer where you can take information that you compose on-premise and really push that in a secure, safe fashion into your on-demand environment.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
One of the things we haven't actually talked about was HANA. What role will that play in what you're doing, or will it?
So HANA is a absolute driver of innovation, as you're seeing at Sapphire and certainly in the next few days at the keynotes and the customer sessions and what our partners are doing and the ecosystem is evolving into. The primary use case for HANA, the front end of what we've delivered with Business Intelligence 4 going against HANA as an in-memory analytic engine, was largely about making sure that we had business intelligence delivered very much real time, very much available in a way that you might not necessarily have a fully exposed data warehouse, but you might want to be able to get real-time information directly from HANA to BI, and also being able to deliver it in an accelerated fashion so that you can see the information that you store in an analytic engine being exposed to a broader set of users in a very high-performant way. But that, I think, is in a lot of ways the first use case, the first early use case of how HANA continues to emerge in the market. What you'll see in the next few days at Sapphire is a lot of the applications, the planning applications, the next generation of how we can see very much transactional and analytic applications being fully composed onto HANA as an engine. So a good example of that is strategic workforce planning. You'll start to see a planning application that's built natively for HANA to take advantage of the in-memory capabilities that HANA provides and couple that with a good process and analytics view of how planners work through their strategic workforce needs.
Right. Well, last question, and I will let you go, and I know you've had a long day.
Yeah.
Are customers also thinking about, everyone, of course, is on an iPad or on a smartphone, so there's an insatiable demand for mobile analytics.
Sure.
Are customers also thinking about making sure that, the right people get the right data, and is that top concern? Obviously, security you mentioned, but provisioning, making sure that, just because a salesperson wants that data, it doesn't necessarily mean they need that for their job.
The quality and the security of how data gets consumed to a mobile device. So this is an area that we invested in quite substantially inside of the release of Business Intelligence 4. So as I probably mentioned, we have over 100 customers that are now working with us actively through the ramp-up of Business Intelligence 4. We have almost 300 partners, and we're probably about 2 to 3 weeks away from fully GAing the product, generally available the product into the market. The biggest use case that I see for 4 is how we can take heterogeneous sources, whether they be existing inside of SAP, ERP, BW landscapes, as well as all the forms and shapes of data that exist in the enterprise, and securely delivering that to a mobile device form factor. Right? So the ability of delivering it to the device is important, and it is a key aspect of how we see the success of the solution continuing to emerge. But to your point, it has to be high-quality data, and it has to be delivered in a way that the right people have the right access to it. And so in a lot of ways, what we've done with not only Business Intelligence 4, but also the integration to Sybase. So when you look at the device management that Sybase on Wired Platform and Afaria provide into the market, you can actually go ahead and revoke the privileges of what's on a device based on, say, for instance, a theft or a loss occurs directly on that device. So we see that security happening at multiple levels. One in who sees what data and how it's exposed, and then certainly in the device layer of being able to manage the preponderance of devices that are in the mobile enterprise.
Great. Well, thank you very much for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Yep.
And this concludes the last interview for today on ASUG News Studio. We will be back tomorrow with more interviews. Please stay tuned later. We'll be going to the ASUG keynote address with Bridget Chambers and Anthony Bosco. So please stay tuned, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.